Hey guys, this is video 14.6. We're going to talk about the basics, kind of the foundational pieces, the information behind electrochemical cells. The two videos after this, we're going to focus on one cell per video. So this is just kind of laying the groundwork and the foundation, kind of certain things that hold true for both of them, the similarities between them. All right, so we'll start to apply them this information more specifically in the forthcoming videos. So here we go. There are two types of electrochemical cells. One is called voltaic, also known as galvanic. Okay, Galvanic. It's similar to a battery. Okay. So we'll talk about the ins and outs of that and kind of what it looks like and how it works in the next video. And the second type of electrochemical cell is an electrolytic cell. All right, this is similar to an alternator in a car. And I can't spell alternator. All right, so again, we'll talk more about that in the last video of this unit, 14.8. There are a few similarities that you need to be aware of between the two, so make sure do what you need to do to memorize this information, guys, and remember it, whether that be flashcards, whether it be just looking at it over and over, because this is another topic. They love putting redox stuff on the test. You will see at least one or two questions about these cells in multiple choice as well as short answer. You're going to probably have to label one of the types of cells and then answer some question on it. So again, redox is a huge unit on the Regents exam. They love to put it because it uses a lot of the foundational pieces that we've talked about throughout the year in a new application, and then it just has a lot of good information there. So make sure you know redox for the Regents. We'll definitely come back and review it more in June. So both of these two cells involve redox reactions, and if you remember, guys, redox just means that you have electrons, so they are chemical reactions that involve the flow of electrons. Okay, so you've got mutual simultaneous reactions taking place. One is losing electrons and they're oxidizing. The other species is taking those electrons in or gaining the electrons and then reducing their oxidation states. Okay, so in these cells, they both involve the flow of electrical energy. And guys, if you think about it, all electrical energy is electrons being moved. All right, they're just moving from one place to another. So we call electrical energy current. All right, and it's measured in volts. Those of you who go on and take physics, you'll get all into the details of current and volts and all that type of stuff. Both have two electrodes. And we'll talk more about what these electrodes are. They are just conductive surfaces where oxidation or reduction occurs. They're called the anode and the cathode. Okay. Now, within these cells, there's what's called a half cell. Okay, so half of the reaction is where the anode is, and then the other half is where the cathode is. And we'll talk about what's happening at those in terms of oxidation reduction. This is why we have to learn how to write those half reactions, is to be able to apply them to these cells. So oxidation or reduction occurs in each half cell. Now, there's another saying, like our last saying, where in terms of like what's happening with the electrons or to the species when they are being used or when they're involved in a redox reaction, right? We had said Leo the lion says Gur. Leo, lose electrons, oxidize. Gur, gain electrons, reduce. Another saying here is Redcat and Ox. So those are the two big sayings. If you don't remember anything else, guys, make sure you know those two. Leo the lion says Gur, and Redcat and Ox. Redcat means that reduction, hence the red, reduction always occurs at the cathode. Doesn't matter what type of cell you're looking at, whether it's galvanic or electrolytic, reduction is always happening at the cathode, which means ions gain the electrons, so they're being reduced. Okay, Gur, just remember that, right? Gur, gain electrons, reduce. So the cathode is where you're gaining electrons. On the flip side, Ox, oxidation always occurs at the anode. Metal loses electrons. Now again, we'll talk about what ions mean and like metal when we get into the cells here in the next couple of videos, but this is just kind of the precursor. Make sure you know Redcat and Ox. All right, so over here on the anode here, Leo, right, oxidation is occurring. So make sure you remember these two sayings, because they're going to come in handy to start when we have to start labeling and figuring out all the different pieces of each cell. Okay. The last thing you want to remember, guys, is that electrons flow through the wire from the anode to the cathode. All right. Now, this is definitely could very well be a question on the Regents, okay, where electrons are flowing through the wire from the anode to the cathode. So we'll talk more about what that means in the next couple of videos. So this is the basics. Make sure you know these two sayings, Redcat and Ox. All right, and this is kind of the precursor, and we'll talk more about each specific cell in the next two videos. Till next time, I'll see you later.